Today we are visiting Oakdale Cemetery in Wilmington, North Carolina. The cemetery office is closed on the weekend, but fortunately, there is this information sign, complete with free maps of the grounds. The other side of the map lists 10 points of interest, and we'll focus today's visit on this list. Oakdale Cemetery was the first rural cemetery in North Carolina. Established in 1852, it was designed in the Victorian mode by surveyor Lewis C. Turner. Differing from flat, grid-like lawn cemeteries, the original 65 acres in Oakdale consist of low paths and roads winding through raised burial plots. Ornate iron fences and lush vegetation give one the feeling of strolling through a large garden or park. Grave markers here range from the plain to the elegant. An interment ranges from the simple to the stately. This is the grave of Annie de Rosset. She was the daughter of Dr. Armand J. de Rosset, the first president of Oakdale Cemetery. Annie was only 6 years old when she became the first person interred in Oakdale Cemetery in February of 1855. It is interesting to note that around 80 graves were relocated to Oakdale Cemetery between 1856 and 1923, resulting in grave markers bearing death dates from before Oakdale was created. But the true first burial was little Annie. And not far from little Annie, we find the grave of Mrs. Rose O'Neill Greenhow. Mrs. Greenhow was a Confederate spy during the American Civil War. She even traveled to Europe as a representative of the Confederacy in 1863. Upon her return in 1864, her ship ran aground off of the coast of North Carolina. Trying to escape capture in a rowboat, she drowned when the boat capsized, and the nearly $2,000 in gold sewn into her clothing made it impossible to swim. This is the grave of Henry Bacon. Bacon was an architect who designed a number of buildings around the country, such as Danforth Memorial Library in Paterson, New Jersey, the Van Vleck Observatory at Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut, and Waterbury Hospital in Waterbury, Connecticut. But Bacon's best-known work is located in Washington, D.C. The Lincoln Memorial. And here lies the Honorable Edward Bishop Dudley. Although he was North Carolina's 28th governor, he was the first governor to be elected by popular vote. This is the grave of Dr. William Crawford Wilkins. Wilkins was killed while fighting a duel over a local political election. He is believed to be the last man to die in a political duel in the South. This family obelisk memorializes Nancy Martin and her brother John. The pair were on a sea voyage when Nancy became ill and died. Her body was placed in a barrel of rum to preserve it until it could be returned to shore. She's buried nearby, reportedly barrel, rum, and all. Her brother John was lost at sea only 4 months later. David Brinkley was a pioneer broadcast journalist, getting his start with NBC Radio News in 1943. In 1952, he began reporting on television with the NBC Nightly News, and for the next 45 years was a fixture in American homes, most notably with NBC's weekly Huntley-Brinkley Report. The public grounds are home to the area known as the Yellow Fever area. Nearly 1,500 cases of yellow fever were reported in Wilmington between August and December of 1862. Nearly 400 people who died from the disease are buried here. Not on the list, but a definite honorable mention, is the grave of Ruth Faison Shaw. In 1926, Shaw happened upon a child who was painting on a wall using an iodine-dipped finger. She realized what a natural form of expression painting with one's hands could be. Shaw developed a gelatinous paint that was safe for children, and it was patented in 1931. Here is the grave of William Ellerbrock and his dog Boss. Ellerbrock was a riverboat captain, and Boss was his beloved and faithful companion. On February 11, 1880, a large fire broke out at Front and Dock Street in Wilmington. Ellerbrock, helping to fight the fire, ran into the burning structure, and Boss ran in after him. Both were later found in the ruins. Boss is said to have had a torn piece of Ellerbrock's coat in his mouth, as if he had died trying to pull his friend from the flames. And the final spot we're visiting today is known as the Confederate Mound. Here are the unmarked graves of 367 unknown Confederate soldiers who were killed during the Civil War. Well, that's it for today's visit, but there's still so much more to see in Oakdale, so we're going to have to stop back on another day. Thanks for joining us.